movie starts with Ross being celebrated after being elected, and then immediately goes into a news exposition trying to connect the movie to The Incredible Hulk and establish it as a sequel. And I think a part of the problem with this is how the movie is looked at as more of a sequel to The Incredible Hulk rather than a sequel to Captain America. This first fight scene is pretty good, and even though it doesn't have the same grounded espionage thriller tone that Captain America Winter Soldier started with, the scene does do a good job of showing off Sam's abilities while in the suit.
I bet you break easy. Not that easy.
Even though this scene is pretty much similar to the one in Captain America the Winter Soldier, I'm not mad at it because it shows the difference between Sam and Steve in this situation.
You need a minute?
Nope, let's get this over with. I got shit to do today.
What doesn't really make sense though is how Sam is able to overpower the guy and win when he was just laughing at his punches.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Adamantium.
The best thing the filmmakers did for this film is introduce Adamantium and make it a plot point in the movie.
Isaiah, what are you doing?
My problem with this scene is the fact that the camera is doing a close-up on all the fighting, so you can't really see the setup for the action. If the camera work did a better job displaying the setting more during the action, then it would be good, but instead, the fact that they miss him right here.
You shouldn't even be in these situations. You're not Steve Rogers.
What the hell does this even mean? This just seemed like a way for them to shoehorn this line in the movie.
The Justice Department has signaled a death penalty case will be pursued against Isaiah Bradley.
You're telling me they're pursuing the death penalty for an attempted murder on the president? Yeah, that's bullshit. Sam is somehow not shot in the face here. This is another one of those scenes that's reminiscent of Captain America the Winter Soldier, and I'm not mad at it.
There was an 89% chance you'd turn around if I put Isaiah Bradley at risk.
So you're telling me he was relying on Sam to go back to the prison just because there was a shooting? One, Isaiah wasn't even hurt, so going back wouldn't have done anything. And two, it's not like Isaiah was even shot. Plus, he's a super soldier. I mean, if it really was an 89% chance that Sam would go back to the prison, then this is just another example of analytics not telling the whole story. I mean, it doesn't even account for Sam not even being allowed to visit Isaiah.
I could be court-martialed for this.
I appreciate it, Bale.
So going back wouldn't guarantee anything. Also, why the hell would you give him a chance to track you by calling him and saying,
"Well done, Captain, but you're not going to like what's coming next,"
when you wanted him to go back to the prison? So just like Joaquin said,
Maybe you're not as smart as you think you are.
man, imagine how quick this fight would be if the soldiers actually had guns. Even though guns could have ended this easily, this fight scene in the hallway does a nice job showing off Ruth's fighting abilities as a former Black Widow. The other FBI agents that were there just wait until Sam throws his shield and catches it before they decide to fire at them.
Why? Because I was dying, goddammit! Because my heart was failing. No one could figure it out until he did.
I remember in Captain America Civil War, Ross said he collapsed and had triple bypass surgery, and that gave him perspective.
Oh, 5 years ago, I had a heart attack. After 13 hours of surgery and a triple bypass, I found something. Perspective.
You're telling me even after the surgery, he had heart failure and the doctors didn't know why? I mean, this only proves that they dropped the ball not bringing in Red Hulk earlier on.
Red Wing, a little help!
This is a pretty cool scene with Sam using Red Wing for cover while he goes after the missile. And the movie doesn't do a bad job incorporating some cool elements during the action sequences, making them more appealing overall. From this scene with Sam using Red Wing for cover, to this scene with Sam kicking the shield. And this is a part of what makes the action in the movie good. The action scenes are choreographed well from Sam and Ruth, and the movie does a good job showcasing the difference in fighting styles between Sam and Steve as Captain America. The only thing that hinders the action in the movie from being great is the camera work during certain scenes, and also the fact that the bad guys don't have any guns right when the good guys needs them to. So with that, the movie earns a 4 out of 5 for action.
Come on, Ross. You're almost there. You can rip their fleet apart with your bare hands.
Was he relying on Ross turning into Red Hawk during this conflict with the Japanese? I mean, I'm sure the probability of this was low considering he basically allowed Captain America to not only find him, but also leave the bunker because he didn't bother to equip the henchman with a gun. Yeah, like Joaquin said.
Maybe you're not as smart as you think you are.
So the United States fired on Japan first. The Japanese president or prime minister didn't get an explanation as to who was controlling them, and now he's like, okay, we're good because Captain America stopped them?
I hate to admit it. I'm glad you're here.
Me too. I mean, would it be a Captain America movie without Bucky? That reminds me, waiting a nearly an hour and 30 minutes to include Bucky in a Captain America movie. Overall, the actors and the acting and the dialogue in the movie has some good and some bad. First, starting with Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson Captain America, he does well in the role and does a good job displaying the difference between him and Steve as Captain America.
Steve gave people something to believe in, but you give him something to aspire to.
While the movie does a nice job showcasing that him and Steve's journey as Captain America isn't that much different. Steve was unsure if he could do it at first, just like Sam. Sam and Steve both had to deal with some type of government or agency and decide what's right as Captain America, and Sam also had to deal with a friend that was brainwashed. Harrison Ford is also good as Thaddeus Ross, as he displays a hard, rugged general turned president well. The other supporting characters in the movie, from Danny Ramirez as Joaquin, to Shira Haas as Ruth, to even Giancarlo as Sidewinder is good in their roles. I will say though, I do feel they wasted Giancarlo on a role like Sidewinder when he could have been casted as a more prominent character. And when it comes to Tim Blake Nelson as Samuel Stearns, his character is ruined by the villain trope of always seeing everything coming,
My mind sees it all, every probable outcome.
but still somehow losing to the good guy. Especially when Sam wasn't even doing anything special to figure him out, which makes his character less effective, less appealing, and less like a real threat in the movie. So with that, the movie earns a 4 out of 5 for actors and acting and dialogue.
You ruined my grand finale on the Indian Ocean.
So now I'm forced to turn myself in to get what I want.
This is also another shot in the movie in which it looks like there's an obvious green screen in the background. And that's part of what hinders the cinematography throughout the movie. From this scene, to the scene on the ship, to the scene during the fight with Red Hawk. There's numerous moments where it looks like they're in a green screen studio, and that's thanks to the lighting, which makes the viewing experience less appealing. The directing isn't bad though, as director Julius Onah manages to incorporate some good shots in the movie. From this scene with the camera moving during the action scene in the bunker, showcasing everything deliberately in the frame, to shots during Sam's conversation with Bucky. Something as small as the camera being behind them when Bucky says,
You're a human being and you're doing your best.
Reiterating the seriousness of the situation, with Joaquin being in the operating room, to the camera being in front of them when Sam makes a joke.
Did your speechwriters help you with that?
They did, yeah, the ending a little bit. Did you like it? Was
No, it was good. Solid B+.
emotional?
Showcasing their bond and relationship. So with that, the movie earns a 4 out of 5 for directing and cinematography.
Where are you going?
To stop this. Get on the ground now!
The score in the movie isn't that substantial. The addition of an impactful score will always make the movie better. Unfortunately, composer Laura Cartman doesn't add anything substantial to the movie with his music and score, even though it's not bad at all. So with that, the movie earns a 3 out of 5 for music and score. Damn, they didn't even think twice when firing on the President of the United States.
I know You've done some terrible things.
Why did they have to make this scene at sunset? The visual effects in the movie breaks down in the third act, as per usual with Marvel movies these days. And that's the biggest problem with the editing in this movie. The editing holds up throughout most of the movie, from the consistent tone to the visual effects. But as the movie progresses towards the third act, the visual effects begin to break down. And even though they don't end up being terrible, they still are noticeable. So with that, the movie earns a 4 out of 5 for editing.
But I think you're trying to change. Now's the time to prove it to the world. Prove it to Betty.
Not having Betty be the one to talk Ross down and instead have Sam do it after he just tried to.
You remember this place? You used to come here with Betty. That didn't work.
Is a huge mistake in this movie. And it's mainly because it seems like a cheap way to stop Red Hawk in his third act. Overall, the plot and story has some good elements in the movie though, from the inclusion and introduction of the adamantium to the political elements. But what makes the plot and story only slightly above average is the plan by Stearns and how he didn't prove to be a substantial threat to Captain America, not to mention how Red Hawk was stopped. So with that, the movie earns a 4 out of 5 for plot and story. Overall, Captain America Brave New World doesn't excel at any one category, and it feels more like a sequel to The Incredible Hulk rather than a sequel to Captain America. But Brave New World is still entertaining enough to watch again. But not for the plot and the story, maybe for the action. But that's really about it. So in the end, Captain America Brave New World needed more of a villain like the Winter Soldier to showcase Sam's combat abilities, rather than a pull the strings from behind the scene villain in Samuel Stearns. That's apparently supposed to challenge him mentally. Nevertheless, Brave New World is one of Marvel's best efforts in the movie department in the last couple of years, even with it still being the third best Captain America movie. And if they can correct on these mistakes, maybe the next movie is sure to be even better. Now it's time to add up the numbers. So the movie ends up with a 3.8 out of 5, and that gives it a B rating.
Well done, Captain. But you're not going to like what's coming next.
You always wear such nice suits.
I have to admit, I'm still getting used to the new look.
You know, it takes an awful lot to surprise me.
Just like that, we're supposed to be cool?
Sam, you shouldn't even be in these situations. You're not Steve Rogers.
What's the matter,